Good morning.
Good morning.
All right. This would be Vandiver, Bobby Vandiver,
Van Diver.
and Van Diver. All right. How are you, Mr. Ianni?
Very good.
It's good to see you. So we're on the record, docket 22-00287. That's people of the state of Michigan versus Bobby Van Diver. Will the parties please introduce themselves for the record?
For the record, Your Honor, Robert Ianni, IANNI, Special Assistant Attorney General of the people in this case.
Good morning, Assistant Public Defender Lauren Sutter, appearance on behalf of Mr. Van Diver, who's standing to my right.
And you are, let me make sure I get the right file here. You are Bobby Van Diver?
Correct.
All right. This is the time set for preliminary examination. Mr. Ianni, how are we proceeding today?
I believe we're going to have a waiver, Your Honor.
Okay.
That's correct.
And that's your understanding, Ms. Sutter, that the defendant's going to be waiving his right to a preliminary examination in district court?
Correct.
All right. And negotiations are continuing, I assume?
Yes.
All right. May I inquire of your client of his waiver?
Yes.
All right. Sir, you understand you have the right to a preliminary examination in district court in this case. And a preliminary examination is a probable cause hearing in which the people of the state of Michigan would have to prove by probable cause evidence that a crime was committed and the identity of the person who committed that crime. You, of course, are represented by Public Defender Lauren Sutter, and she would contest any charges brought against you and cross-examine any witnesses. If you waive your right to a preliminary examination, you'll leave district court, you'll go to circuit court, where the case will continue. And negotiations are to continue, my understanding, in regards to this case. And but any other processing in the case will be done in circuit court, and you'll be done with your time in district court. Do you understand that, sir?
Yes,
Okay, it's my understanding it's your intent to waive your right to a preliminary examination today.
yes,
All right. I'll bind this court over to circuit court. My understanding is you waive your right. The people also waive their right. The Attorney General waives their right to a preliminary examination.
We do, Your Honor.
All right. I find the waiver to be freely understanding and voluntarily made. Negotiations are to continue in circuit court. You should keep in contact with your public defender, Lauren Sutter. She will apprise you of any dates in circuit court, but your time in district court is now done. All right, sir?
okay.
Anything else for the record in docket 22-02132, Mr. Ianni?
Bond continued.
Bond continued.
Should include a no contact with custodial parent Jordan Quimby.
I don't have, as a part of this, I don't have a no contact order, but I'm happy to make it a part of bond.
There has been some history
Oh.
from the record I've seen, Your Honor, there's a history of domestic violence.
All right, I do, let's see. Is there no contact order? I don't see one in the,
There was a no contact order. Am I mistaking the child for the custodial parent?
I just don't see, I don't see it marked at the arraignment. But,
I don't believe, she doesn't usually keep them.
right, so as a part of any response to the no contact order regarding the file, Ms. Sutter?
Your Honor, just that I understand that there may be a history with this custodial parent, but this case itself does not involve the custodial parents regarding financial obligations to the child. So I would ask that the no contact order not be ordered in this case.
Mr. Ianni?
It is standard in these cases, Your Honor, that the people request no contact where there's a history of domestic violence. There has been in this case.
It was not initially ordered. If there's a history of domestic assault, my preference is to order a no contact in this regard. So that would be a no contact order in regards to it would be the mother of the child, I would indicate.
Custodial parent.
Custodial parent.
Jordan Quimby, spelled Jordyn.
Jordy Quimby Q, is it?
Jordan.
Jordan, Jordyn Quenby.
Quenby. Did you get it?
Quenby.
Quenby. So we'll do a no contact order in that regards to the custodial parent. We'll add that to the bond conditions. And bond is continued at $1,000, 10%, which was the original bond set in this matter. All right, anything else for the record, Mr. Ann?
No, Your Honor.
Anything, Ms. Sutter?
No, Your Honor.
All right. Mr. Van Diver, your time here in district court is done. Good luck to you. Okay, sir?
Thank you. Is there an arraignment date or is that just to be set?
That
Yeah,
gets set.
it's will be decided in circuit court. We used to do that and then we don't do it anymore. So that's why they keep in contact with their defense attorney.
Every court's different.
I know, I know.
So,
They have to pick which circuit court judge first.
Right.
and that person.
Sir,
they're all
Mr.
different.
Van Diver.
Bonnie.
Oh,
Thank you.
sorry, I'll need you to sign something. Oh, okay, sorry.
You want to sign it and then I'll sign it. Mr. Wisty, how are you?
Not great. I've been having these strange news from. I'm
Okay.
struggling for urgent care.
All right.
Giving you guys a heads up, and I'll be back in a pocket.
Okay. All right.
He has,
Oh,
All right. You just let us know. How do we feel better?
he had Andrew Stewart for today. I'm gonna cover it for him.
Okay.
I'm familiar with at least one of the cases. I'm just gonna need 10, 15 minutes to get myself. up to speed.
Okay.
thank you.
I know.
We're 3 at a time.
I know.
You may or may not have. a-
All right, Mr. Wisty, I hope you feel better.
That's fair.
Because I was confused. I sat there.
That's fair.
Thank you.
No problem.
I appreciate your understanding.
Oh, I understand how much it sucks. I'm doing it.
One point I was like.
All right, we're on the record in 22-00287. People, the state of Michigan versus Andrew Stewart. Will the parties please introduce themselves for the record?
Yes, good morning, Your Honor. Assistant Prosecuting Attorney Adam Pfeiffer on behalf of the people. I'm covering for Assistant Prosecuting Attorney Jacob Wisty today.
Thank you, Your Honor, and good morning. Jared Austin appearing on behalf of Mr. Andrew Stewart. He is present with me at council table.
And you are Andrew Stewart?
Yes, sir, Your Honor.
Okay. This is the time set for preliminary examination today. Mr. Pfeiffer, how are we proceeding?
Your Honor, there have been plea negotiations. The defendant has rejected the offers. I'd like to place those offers on the record, and the people are prepared to begin the examination today with the victim, Charlita Beard.
Okay, you may proceed.
Thank you, Your Honor. The offer that was extended to the defendant today was that he plead to counts 3, domestic violence, second offense notice, and counts 4, malicious destruction of personal property, 200 or more, but less than $1,000. Those are each 1-year misdemeanors. I would note the defendant is charged with a 5-year felony, 4-year felony, those 2 charges, and then 2 felony firearm counts, which are a mandatory minimum consecutive 2 years each. And he is charged as a habitual offender, second offense notice. Peeps will also intend to add a felony count of witness interference / bribery, which is another 4-year discretionary consecutive, meaning as charged at a minimum, he is facing over 6 years in prison. The offer that was given today was plead 2 1-year misdemeanors, and that offer will expire at the preliminary examination. It's my understanding the defendant does not wish to take that offer. I should note as well, the offer would include agreeing not to proceed on witness interference charges for contacts made related to this case prior to the date of the plea.
All right, and that's for the record. Mr. Austin, you've apprised your client of those offers and they've been rejected today.
That is correct, Your Honor. There were some initial offers that changed once we found out more as to who was here and who was not here, but that was the latest offer that was conveyed. I conveyed that to Mr. Stewart. We discussed that. My understanding is that he wishes to reject that offer. I did make a counter proposal on Mr. Stewart's behalf. He offered to the people that he would plead guilty to the misdemeanor malicious destruction of property charge. My understanding is that the people have rejected that as well.
Okay, thank you. Mr. Pfeiffer, anything else for the record or any preliminary matters before we get started?
Your Honor, I do know that I believe there's also a P53 hearing scheduled for today. I would just say before we get started on anything, that if that's the case, I'm going to have to ask for adjournment on that for when Mr. Wisty is able to handle it.
All right, I don't have a PA53 on the docket. I have a GPS violation report, but I've only thing set today are the 3 preliminary examinations involving Mr. Stewart.
Okay.
So
And
yeah, if that could be.
I think for the record, just to help things, Mr. Wisty was supposed to be handling these today. He had a medical emergency earlier this morning, and so I stepped in at the last minute to handle what I'm able to handle on his behalf.
Right. So we'll just do what's on the record today, and then we'll see where that leads us.
My apologies.
Anything else? Any other preliminary matters?
Not from the people, Your Honor.
Anything from the defense?
Yes, a couple matters, if I may, Your Honor.
Sure.
Just for clarification purposes, because I believe Mr. Stewart is here today on 3 files. I believe the file that we've been talking about as it relates to running the prelim and plea offers is file number 22-287FY. Is that correct?
That's correct.
That's when the judge called.
And my understanding is I don't believe the people would be able to proceed on the other 2 files. And I would just be motioning to dismiss on those at some point.
All right. Well, let's go one file at a time, just for the record and the
Sure.
court reporter. I'll call them all in order, but I'll call this one first and we'll proceed. And then whatever happens on the next 2, we'll go in that direction. Anything else, Mr. Austin, on this file 22-00287?
If I could just inquire of Mr. Stewart, Your Honor.
Sure.
Mr. Stewart, you heard the discussion about the plea offer that was extended by the people that was recited by the prosecutor a moment ago.
Yes, sir, Mr. Austin.
And was that the same offer that I conveyed to you?
Yes, sir.
Okay. And do you wish to accept that offer? Or do you wish to reject that offer?
Well, I just want the truth to get out. So if I accept that offer, the truth won't get out.
Well, so just so we're clear, are you accepting it or are you rejecting?
I can't accept it.
And is anyone forcing you or did anybody threaten you to get you to reject that?
No, sir, Mr. Austin.
Okay. Do you need more time to discuss that offer with me before making that decision?
Possibly in the future.
Do you feel comfortable proceeding today and rejecting that offer as the people have stated that that offer will expire once we begin this hearing?
Yes, I'm trying to get this whole situation resolved with truth and full understanding on what went on, so I can get my life back, get on with my life with my children, my
Well-
health situation.
Do you wish to accept the offer today or do you wish to continue with your hearing today?
Continue with the hearing.
With that, I have nothing further, Your Honor. If I could just ask Mr. Pfeiffer to acknowledge that I made the counter proposal that Mr. Stewart asked me to make and that he is rejecting that.
That is correct.
Ms. Pfeiffer, okay,
People rejected any offer. It does not include a charge of domestic violence.
all right.
With that, Your Honor, I have nothing further and I'm ready to proceed.
All right, thank you, Mr. Austin. Mr. Pfeiffer, you may call your first witness.
Thank you, Your Honor. The people will call Sharita Beard. Thank you.
All right, ma'am, I'm gonna have you stand right in front of me, all right? I'm gonna have you state your name and spell your last name for the record.
Charlita Andre Beard. Last name is B as in boy, EARD.
All right, please raise your right hand. Do you solemnly swear or affirm to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth under penalty of perjury?
Yes, thank you.
All right, you can have a seat here and I'm gonna have you project as loud as you can for the recording, okay?
Okay.
All right. And Mr. Pfeiffer, you may proceed.
Thank you. Good morning.
Good morning.
Could you please state this? I'm sorry, she already stated spell her name.
You can have her do it again for the record.
Could you state and spell your name? for the record?
Charlita Andre Beard. First name is CHARLETA. Last name is Beard, B as in boy, EARD.
Thank you. Ms. Beard, do you know an Andrew Stewart?
I did,
How do you know him?
former boyfriend. ex-boyfriend.
And how long were you two together?
That's been 2 years.
If you saw him again, would you be able to recognize him?
That's him.
If record reflects, she just pointed to the defendant.
Any objection?
Without objection.
Okay, without objection, the witnesses identified the defendant.
Now, make clear for the record, there are two individuals on that side of the courtroom. Could you please say something that differentiates Andrew Stewart from anybody else who might be sitting at that table?
Mr. Stewart is an African-American male with a blue shirt, black Reebok jacket.
Think that'll do it. Thank you very much. Now, on November 29th of 2021, did you have contact with police?
I believe so.
And was that in regards to Andrew Stewart?
Yes,
And did you have contact with Mr. Stewart that day at 1017 LeGrand Drive,
apartment 12, yes.
apartment 12? And is that in Ingham County?
Yes, it is.
What can you tell us about what you remember happening that day with Mr. Stewart?
It's it's been quite some time, so some of the details are foggy. We had a very toxic relationship. It became toxic because there are so many instances where I'm calling for help. Basically, it would have been an argument, or I would have contacted police for help from protecting myself from Mr. Stewart, either damaging my property or physically assaulting me.
And so the November 29th, that was one of those times you called police.
Yes,
And at this time, were you still together or had you broken up?
and that's the part, we would be separated. However, if he wanted to come back and I didn't comply, then he'd become aggressive. That means if I don't answer my phone or it's going back and forth, he may appear and damage my car. It may be,
I'm gonna object, it's non-responsive to the question.
Response?
I think she's explaining the dynamic situation because I asked if they were together or not. She's explaining how it was this in-between period, this in-between area by Mr. Stewart.
I'll allow it as describing the nature of the relationship. So objections overruled.
So were you trying to be broken up at this point then?
absolutely.
And it was Mr. Stewart who didn't want to be broken up at that point.
I don't know if he didn't want to be broke up. He wanted the benefit of being able to stay at my house, things like that, if he didn't have a place to stay. He didn't want, he conveys me verbally. He didn't want me seeing anyone, things of that nature. And so I may not hear from him for a couple days. And then when I did hear from him, that's when the toxic relationship, the toxic part would appear, because it'd be a back and forth, aggressive argument, or if he didn't, I feel like if he didn't get his way, it'd be a consequence.
Now, 1017 LeGrand, you said apartment 12. Is that your residence?
Yes, yes,
Did he appear at your residence on November 29th, 2021?
yes.
What can you tell me about that?
I remember it being a back and forth argument over the phone. I remember him pulling up in the back. If I'm not mistaken, I was yelling out the window because my windows were being broke. It was being damage done to my car. And that's when back and forth went. And
At some point, did he try and enter your residence?
I'm not for sure. I can't remember. I'm just being honest with you. I can't remember if he tried to enter.
At some point, did you feel like your safety was in jeopardy?
Absolutely.
And what made you feel that way?
Just the threats, the bitch, I'm gonna kill you, just the verbal threats.
That was from Mr. Stewart.
Absolutely.
At any point, did he have a weapon in his hands?
Well, what he told me later, which it appeared to me to be a gun, he said it was the end of a hammer that he broke my windows with.
But it looked like a gun to you.
Absolutely.
So
I believe I was on the phone calling 911, explaining the situation then.
did you see a firearm?
I seen what I appeared to be a firearm.
So you believe it to be a firearm. I understand that Mr. Stewart may have said separately.
That's what I believe I seen. Inside.
Did he point this gun at you?
Yeah, he wanted to say, bitch, I'm gonna kill you.
So he pointed at you while he was threatening
He
to
was
kill you.
downstairs. I was in my window. And I'm hollering out the window because he's damaging my vehicles. And we're going back and forth.
And that's when he said that he was going to kill you and point a gun at you.
Yes, it was something black. He said it appeared to me to be a gun. He said it was the end of the hammer.
But to you, it looked like it was a gun.
Hands down it did.
Were you afraid you were going to get shot?
I was so afraid at that point when everything was happening. I was in shock because I couldn't believe the person that I was in love with or had a relationship is doing this to me. I couldn't believe he was acting out this way, this behavior. I believe he was going to harm me. Everything leading up to that, so much damage, I couldn't put anything past him at that point as far as my safety concerned, because it got to a point where he was hurt.
You said that there was damage to your car. What was the damage?
Windows broke out, tires slashed.
Did you get any estimates on how much it would take, cost to fix it?
My tires was done 4 times, my windows was done 3 times, my apartment windows twice. I have receipts for everything. I still have the outstanding bills to my landlord for the windows. I still have the pictures of the windows, the videos, everything.
I do know there's been, as I said, a series of incidents, but specifically for this one, where he damaged your car, do you remember roughly how much it would cost to fix that?
400,
400.
yes. Isn't it 3 something, I can't provide a report with that.
So this isn't just, how do you know that number? How about that?
Because he did it before. I kept having to replace them. This is not an isolated incident. It's
So-
just one time.
You already knew how much it would cost to replace them, so you'd already gotten estimates in the past.
I had to have them replaced in the past from when he broke them previously. If I got my windows fixed on Monday, he'd come break them out on Wednesday. And I also can provide the glass company. They come out to help. I have receipts from Schroyers. I have my debit card information where I had to pay for these things, the cost,
Thank you very
toll
much.
information.
Just one moment, Your Honor. As you said, this incident happened good deal of time ago, coming up on a year next month. This case has been pending for a while. While this case has been going on, has Mr. Stewart contacted you?
Absolutely.
Has he asked you to not testify or to have this case be dismissed?
In
Objection
July,
leading.
Sustained, you can ask in a different way.
I'd be happy to rephrase. Did he talk to you about this case?
yes, in July, I think it was the July 11th court date coming. And he contacted me, asking me to write a letter stating that I did not feel he was a threat to me or that he was a harm, so that he could possibly get the title removed.
Did you say anything else about this case and about your appearance at it?
About what I'm saying.
About your appearing to testify?
It wasn't so much, it was a conversation of, if you don't show up, you know,
Oh,
you know,
please.
he basically, we talked and he says, if you don't show up, they have to dismiss it. And I says, well, I don't want to get in trouble because if I'm continuously not showing up, but I'm making reports, I'm going to be in trouble. And that's when it came about. He says, all you have to do is write a letter stating that I'm not a harm and I can ask them to remove the tether. And he later called me, it may have been some days or past that. He says, well, let me talk to my lawyer about it and see how we can work that out. He says, maybe you can provide the letter to the lawyer. And this is when he had a female lawyer that is no longer on the case,
And that was in July of this year.
July of 2022.
Has he been around you in person while this case has been pending?
Yes, multiple times.
Can you describe the context of those?
Maybe meeting a mutual friend and he would appear. He's contacted me third party to meet him. And I think in July, we had several encounters, which sometime I can show the video or pictures.
Ms. Beard, do you know if Mr. Stewart has a felony record?
From my knowledge, I know he talked about it before, but what he was told to me that it was like 30 years old if he didn't have, um, anything recent. He presented himself to be like without a flawed past. And everybody has, has a past. But he just made it clear to me, like, when we would talk about it, it would come up with discussion on employment or getting an apartment, things like that. And that's how his background would come into play, being eligible for certain things.
Thank you, Ms. Beard. One moment to make sure. People have no further questions for this witness at this time.
Cross-examine, cross-examination, Mr. Austin.
Yes, Your Honor, thank you. Morning, Ms. Beard. So this incident that you were talking about from last November, where you said Mr. Stewart appeared to have something to you that it looked like a gun. You recall testifying about that?
Just now.
And where was he holding this object at? His right hand, his left hand, or somewhere else?
Your Honor, may I demonstrate?
Sure.
Okay, so I'm in my apartment window and I'm asking him to stop. His vehicle, okay, this would be his car vehicle. He's facing this and he's pointing it this way with his right hand. The door is open to his car and his hand is open, like if the car door is open, his arm is hanging out that way up over the window.
So let the record reflect the witness is moving out her right hand as if holding something.
Yes.
And how far would you say he was from you?
At least, because I live on a third floor, so at least 100 feet. Clearly, I had good vision, and that's when he said, "Bitch, I'm gonna kill you."
Okay.
Yes.
All right, thank you. You can retake your seat.
And so when this was happening, you were inside the apartment, Mr. Stewart was on the outside
Yes.
and approximately 100 feet away. Did I hear that right?
Approximately, yes.
What time of the day or night was this occurring?
I don't recall. It was evening. It began to get dark. I don't recall.
Do you recall if it was still light out or not?
I don't recall.
And while this was happening, did you scream for help or anything like that?
I didn't scream for help. I was asking him to stop. At that time, I'm calling 911 as well. I'm on the phone because I see it playing out. I'm on the phone calling 911 and I'm asking him to stop.
And you were doing this simultaneously? You were
Yes.
calling
I'm on the
911?
phone, making a call to 911 and I'm asking him, we're having conversation back and forth.
And that was,
Your Honor, I'd just like some clarification as to the we. Is that between her and 911 or her and Mr. Stewart?
Mr. Stewart and I.
All right.
I'm allowing 911 to hear.
and you live in an apartment building, is that correct?
I do.
And did you see any of the other neighbors from any of the other apartments come out and respond to this?
I seen the neighbors come out and respond after he pulled off. Neighbors were able to let me know that they witnessed the incident, but no one will go out while he's there.
So the answer to my question is that while Mr. Stewart was there and while this was ongoing, you did not see any neighbors come out, is that correct?
Absolutely, that would be correct.
And you said you only saw neighbors after Mr. Stewart was no longer there, is that correct?
Yes.
And can you recall the names of any of the neighbors that came out afterwards?
I can't recall at this time, but I do have that documented that I can provide the court with or the prosecutor with at a later date.
And when you say you have it documented, what does that mean?
I wrote down who was out there. I wrote down what apartment, because even though I may have a neighbor and I call her Anna, I may not know her full government name. Anna was there, you know,
And so you wrote that down on a piece of paper.
absolutely,
That's something you still have?
absolutely.
That's something that you ever turned over to the police?
I'm not for sure. I know that there was one gentleman that was outside when it was happening that the police talked to. I didn't know his name. He was a visitor of, he was outside having a smoke. He was a visitor of another resident.
Well, my question was, ma'am, did you ever turn that document over to the police? That was my
I'm not for
question.
sure if I did. I know that I still have it.
And you know, if, were those neighbors that you recognized or that you knew, or is that the first time that you had seen them?
I've been in that apartment unit going on 5 years, so I pretty much know everyone who's been in that building.
Are those same neighbors that you saw respond still there?
They still live there. Yes,
Do you recall the apartment numbers that any of them may have responded from?
I do not.
And was talking about a July incident where you were communicating in some fashion, you said, with Mr. Stewart, is that correct?
Right.
Okay. And how was this conversation taking place? Was this something that was in person? Was this through text? Was it through email? How was this occurring?
Both through in person and verbally. He would call private, or he'd have someone call me to call him.
So in person, where did these in-person encounters occur at?
It would have maybe been at the Fish Ladder Park. I do have some of these things documented in them.
And when you say documented, do you mean written down or some other way?
No, written down, like when we would meet.
And you were talking about that you also have some pictures and videos that you could share on these incidences. Did I understand that correctly?
Yes,
And where are these pictures and videos?
they would be in my phone.
Is that something that you brought with you today?
No,
So is that, did you not bring your phone at all, or is it just a different phone that you're talking
I
about?
have a brand new phone. I do believe I have a picture of me and Mr. Stewart on a live call that shows we had contact after this, during this time.
Is that something that you showed anybody today?
I did not show anybody today. I informed the prosecutor that I had it. I did not did not visibly show him.
But these other pictures and videos that you're talking about, that's on a completely different phone, is that right?
It may be in my phone. I was a little nervous and didn't have the time to retrieve it.
Well, you
So,
said you had a new phone, is that correct?
I do.
And the pictures and videos that you were talking about, is that on a phone other than your new phone?
Yes,
And that is a phone that you did not bring with you today, is that correct?
absolutely.
Is that a phone that you still have?
It is.
And did you ever turn over or share any of that with the police?
Some of the texts, I believe they screenshotted some of the conversation that he texted me. I know that the police took a screenshot.
I'm talking about the pictures and videos you were just talking about. Did you share those with law enforcement?
And I think they took their own pictures of the damage of the property. I don't think I had to share that with them. I think they took their own pictures.
Well, what are these pictures and videos that you were talking about? What do they depict?
Damage of my property. Some of the more, or the different pictures would be him and I together after the no contact, or him around me
Okay.
after the no contact.
So the pictures of you and him together, did you share those with law enforcement?
No.
And when you were talking about seeing Mr. Stewart at the park, was it just you and he together, or was there anybody else there with you?
Sometimes it may be a mutual friend, or it would just be him and I
when there was a mutual friend, what is the name of this mutual friend, if you know?
Normally it would be, I can't remember during the course of the last few months, because it may have been since July or August. That I do have written down. I would have to provide you with that.
Okay, is it a male or female friend?
Email.
You don't recall this male's name?
I don't.
You have it written down?
Yes,
And again, that's something that you didn't bring with you today, is that correct?
that's correct.
Ms. Beard, this November incident that you were describing on that evening, prior to, you said Mr. Stewart arriving, had you consumed any alcohol?
No.
Had you taken any kind of medication that may affect your memory in any way, psychotropic medications, pain medications, anything of that sort?
No. I had nothing that would impair me or confuse me. And some of the
Well,
details
thank you, Ms.
around it.
You've
Okay.
answered my question, Ms. Beard. Thank you, Your Honor. I believe it's all the questions I have.
Redirect, Mr. Pfeiffer.
No, Your Honor, I
All
have
right.
no further questions for her.
Any objection to this witness being excused, Mr. Pfeiffer?
Not from the people.
Any objection to the witness being excused, Mr. Austin?
I do not, Your Honor. Thank you.
Right, witness, you're excused.
Thank you.
Mr. Pfeiffer, you may call your next witness.
Your Honor, at this time, the people will be asking for a brief continuance in order to call Officer Joshua Byers. He made my office aware he would be unavailable to testify today at 4:11 p.m. this Wednesday, as he informed our office that he is on vacation out of state and will be unavailable to testify at his scheduled hearings yesterday and today as a result. Given the fact that we've started the examination and therefore met the 21-day requirement under the statute, I would ask for a brief continuance in order to have the officer appear.
Response?
Just may I have a moment, Your Honor?
You may.
Your Honor, I take no position. I leave it at the court's discretion. I'm not lodging any official objection.
All right. I do think that since the request has been made for the officer to testify, and let me make sure I have the officer's name correctly. That would be Officer Byers, Josh Byers.
That's correct, Your Honor.
All right.
Byers.
All right. And we have started the prelim within 21 days of the arraignment. And the witness, Charlotta Andrea Beard, did testify. I think that's sufficient cause for an adjournment to wait for Mr. Officer Byers testify to corroborate Ms. Beard's testimony. So I'm going to grant your request for an adjournment in this matter. Adjournment for Officer Josh Byers' testimony. How long do you need the adjournment for Mr. Byers?
At least 7 days.
Okay, so we're like a couple weeks out.
fair, his email made it sound like he was on the tail end of his vacation,
Okay,
but
so next available day.
Let's put it on the 22nd at 8:30, which is a PCC day.
Okay, so October 27th at 8:30
that should work for the people.
for. All right, anything else on this file, docket 22-00287?
Not from the people, Your Honor, at this time, though I do believe there will likely be a P53 report incoming.
Anything else, Mr. Austin, on this file?
Nothing further about Mr. Stewart. Your
All
Honor.
right, Mr. Stewart, I'll just remind you that you're still under a no contact order and any pretrial bond conditions that have been set, okay?
Yes, sir. Your
All
Honor.
right, on this file. There's my notes on that. Then we have the second docket today, which is docket 22-02476. Will the parties please introduce themselves for the record?
Yes. Good morning, Your Honor. Assistant Prosecuting Attorney Adam Pfeiffer on behalf of the people.
Good morning, Your Honor. Jared Austin, appearing on behalf of Mr. Stewart. He stands present to my right.
Sir, you're Andrew Stewart again.
Yes, sir.
All
Your
right.
Honor.
Mr. Pfeiffer, this is the time set for preliminary examination. How are we proceeding today?
Once again, Your Honor, I am covering this on behalf of APA Jacob Wisty, who had to leave due to a medical emergency. I did speak with him briefly, and he stated that it was his intention not to proceed on this case, and therefore to.
All right, and I am assuming you have no objection to that, Mr. Austin?
None whatsoever, Your Honor.
All right, so what is the case being dismissed because witnesses failed to appear?
I believe so, Your Honor, yes.
Okay, so,
That is the logical conclusion I would make, as Pam Nixon is not here. She is the named victim in that case.
and that's a dismissal without prejudice, I assume. Okay. All right, Mr. Stewart, you understand the case today is dismissed because witnesses failed to appear. It's dismissed without prejudice, which means that they could bring this case back at a later date, but for today's purposes, the file is dismissed today.
Start out for the next case.
And then we have dockets 22-02545. People of the state of Michigan versus Andrew Stewart. Once again, will the parties please introduce themselves for the record?
Yes, good morning, Your Honor. Assistant Prosecuting Attorney Adam Pfeiffer on behalf of the people, covering for APA Jacob Wisty, who's out in a medical emergency.
Morning, Your Honor. Jared Austin, appearing on behalf of Mr. Stewart. He stands present to my right.
Thank you. And you are Andrew Stewart?
Yes, sir. Your Honor.
This is the time set for preliminary examination. Mr. Pfeiffer, how are we proceeding today?
Your Honor, after speaking with Mr. Wisty briefly before his medical emergency, he conveyed to me that it was his intention not to continue going forward in this case. The necessary victim is not here, and I believe that is the reason why.
And without objection, Mr. Austin, I'm assuming, Mr. Stewart, you have an understanding that today this file 22-02545 has been moved to dismiss by the prosecution because the witness failed to appear. You understand it's without prejudice, so they could bring the case back if they chose to, but for our purposes today, the file is dismissed.
Thank you, Your Honor.
All right. So that's all for the record in 22-02545. And I think that concludes all three files.
I believe so, Your Honor.
All right, so